Hello, I'm Anatole, and this is my review of Batman the Animated Series, Season 1, Episode 3, titled Nothing to Fear, scored 7.3 on IMDb, and I believe the title is a reference to the Franklin Delano Roosevelt quote that we have nothing to fear but fear itself, and it's appropriate because this episode introduces the character of the Scarecrow. And while I think this is not the greatest episode, I like it more than the previous two. And one thing that it does is that it focuses on Batman's relationship with his father and the way that he, in some ways, is trying to chase that memory of his father. His father was a great man within Gotham and a philanthropist, and we get to see that Bruce, in some ways, feels his fears to not measure up to that man. And we get that line from Alfred that I know your father would be proud of you because I'm so proud of you. And so that also underlines how Alfred is a surrogate for Batman's father, just as Commissioner Gordon is in some ways too. And before I continue, I want to point out that some of my research for my review of this series comes from Tor.com, and on there, about 7 years ago, Stephen Padnick did a rewatch for Batman the Animated Series, and not only his comments in those articles on the blog for Tor.com, but the commentators, the people who comment upon his review, are also very useful. And in fact, one of those people, and I will mention at least their internet handle, brought up a point that I think is very salient. And that point is that Batman is quoted as saying, "I am vengeance, I am the night." And that is Christopher L. Bennett brought that up, and that is that there are those two schools of thought for Batman, and that is one, that Batman's about vengeance, and the second school is that Batman is about justice. And this was produced in the throes of Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns and the Tim Burton Batman, where there was the trend towards the Batman of vengeance. And I think it's Christopher Bennett, or at least somewhere else that I read. I do my research. I also read reviews on the Federalist.com of Batman the Animated Series and on AV Club from The Onion, but the one on Tor is the most useful. But somebody pointed out that it wasn't until a few years ago, and I'm going to take it that they mean when Grant Morrison had his run on Batman, that the Batman of justice rather than vengeance came into vogue again. And so that is very important here, because this idea of Batman and Bruce Wayne chasing the memory of their parents and trying to exact vengeance upon the killer, who was Joe Chill, a vengeance that can never be meted. So Batman must find that in any other villain within the city of Gotham. That goes contrary to the idea that the death of his parents did not seek him to mete out vengeance, but to mete out justice. So that even if justice were to come to Joe Chill, he would never stop, because it's not about his selfish desire for vengeance, but about making sure that justice is available for all, because from the example of his own life, he knows how important it is for him to be there for others who cannot get that justice. And this is an idea, this duality of, is Batman about vengeance or Batman about justice? I don't believe it's ever truly going to go away. I think there'll just be periods where one is more in vogue, and then periods where the other's the concept of Batman. And that this idea of not my Batman is explored in the book that came out a couple years ago about the history of Batman fandom. Give me 1 second to find that title. Edit. The Caped Crusader, Batman and the Rise of the Nerd, which I read last year. It's a wonderful book, and the author of that book is Glenn Weldon. So I highly recommend that for anyone who wants to get into depth about these different ideas of who Batman is. And then the last thing I wanted to bring up was one of the reasons why I thought this was a weaker episode is that there's no character development for the Scarecrow. He's just kind of this bad dude that wants, he's seeking vengeance in his own way against the people he feels have slighted him in university when he was a professor there. Also, that there is a little bit of laxness in the plotting. So we get a scene of the Scarecrow getting out of his blimp, doing an emergency escape from his blimp in a glider, and then Batman has to bring the security guard that he's rescued to safety, get into his Batmobile, spend time researching who the Scarecrow is and where his hideout is, go to that hideout, set up the trap for the Scarecrow, and then wait for him. But the Scarecrow got out, escaped from the dirigible, from the blimp, got into his glider. Conceivably, he's just, I mean, what else is he going to do? The glider, we see that it landed just outside the chemical factory, so he would have gone straight from the blimp to the chemical factory. Last time I checked, a straight line is going to be faster than driving around in a road. So I really don't see how Batman could have gotten there first. So that was just a little bit of an easy out for the people writing the script. Just make Batman, because Batman. That is a because Batman moment, if ever there was one. Well, anyway, that's my review for the episode. It was better than the first two, and I would watch this again. This, for me, even if I had felt it was flawed, this is a classic Batman story, and the action scenes were exciting. So even though I want more, I would like more in the writing, I would be happy with any episode at this level. But in this series, we're going to get some that are much better than that. So that's my review for now. Hope you'll join me again on this channel. Take care and be well. Bye. I'm Batman.